since the passing of Charlie Kirk, been having conversations with you. I've seen different conversations online, rather I shouldn't say I've had them. I've seen different conversations online where there has been a comparison, even by Nick himself, from Nick Fuentes to Charlie Kirk. And I think that they can't be further from polar opposite people. And I would just like to discuss that with you. What are your thoughts on it?
I didn't know about this topic, so I didn't prepare very well, but I do have a couple things. I know, like you said, Nick has explicitly said that he felt like he was competing with Charlie Kirk for his audience, which I think generally is sort of young, right-leaning men, right?
And I think that's fair. That's a fair statement. Yeah.
Which way do we want to go with this? Are we talking about people on the left comparing Charlie Kirk and Nick Fuentes and saying they're both harmful? Or
no? Well, we can go there too. I don't care who is comparing the two. I think that they cannot be further from. I think these are two totally different men with totally different agendas. Even if they're after the same captive audience, I think that these are two totally different men from totally different.
So let's start. Let's explain who Nick Fuentes is, since he's a little bit more. I guess he is kind of in the public eye these days, more so.
Yeah,
but back in the day,
making his rounds.
He was more niche. He's generally right leaning. They call themselves Groypers, which, God, dude, we're getting into dangerous territory, being like small, non-existent creators already fucking with Nick Fuentes, because these people are rabid. But
come at me, bro.
Say that. Generally far right leaning. I think he was associated with Ye when he ran for president.
That's when I first figured him out.
They met with Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago. I don't know if you heard about that. Ye brought him to Mar-a-Lago. They had dinner with Trump, and then Trump the next day had to like come out basically and denounce and be like, I didn't know who it was. I had no idea what he believed. He seemed like a nice guy. Yeah. And then, proceeded on, and then he kind of faded out. I think that was like the peak.
And I think he's a wild boy, like looking for shock value in whatever way he can get it. I really do. I think that he has these principalities that he thinks that he stands on. A lot of times can't be like further from the truth than what he says he does stand on. Like Catholicism. He says that he's a Catholic. I don't.
Yeah, I think he would. I don't know what he would identify as, but I think like far right Christian nationalist is generally like.
No, that's what I was about to say. I need to differentiate the two. So Catholicism and Christianity, it is different. Like an Orthodox Christian or a Catholic, these are two different things, and a lot of people group them into the same basket. Us as Christians and them as Catholics know this. We know that there's huge differences, and I don't want to get into all the specifics of all of the differences, but they're pretty huge differences. Like for me, as just a regular Christian, like our whole thing is like we hang our coat and we hang our hat on Jesus. Like Jesus is the way, the truth, the life. No man can enter the kingdom of God except by him. And for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. So like we hang our coats and our hats on Jesus. In Catholicism, most Catholics I know don't even know what being saved is, right? So we have two different ideologies is basically what I'm trying to get to. And Catholics have their own doctrines, and they believe that basically that priests are.
Well, I was trying to just get to what he believes first.
Well, this is important though. Like they believe that priests are ordained by God himself to create their own law, to create their own rules. Like they believe that you have to go through a priest to ask for forgiveness. There's many things, many differentials there. I just wanted to talk about before we get into the specifics of it. But yeah, you can continue.
I would say Christian nationalist-esque, where I could be wrong. It's been a while since I've seen any of his debates, where generally he believes that we should have a white ethno-state where we have a white majority, and that, we need to either, I guess, segment the United States or whatever it is, to like give other, the ones who are minorities now their own states. And so we can have like a homogenous group of people. Otherwise, in his opinion, stuff gets bad.
I can't stand it.
Well, I mean, that's just the reality. He's said a lot of crazy shit. There's a lot of clips of him. Generally, he sounds very polished. I mean, that's where I think most of the comparison comes from is, I think in 80% of his content, he just sounds like kind of Charlie Kirk, where he's, very eloquent debater. He's good with words. He's quick on his feet. He makes good points. He knows all the arguments. He knows all the stats to back up all of his stuff. And so I think generally for the majority of people, unless you like kind of know the dog whistles or like the subtle prods. Also he's very anti Jewish people.
Mm-hmm. Which Charlie was not.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole nother basket of conspiracies that Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens and all them are involved in.
Yeah.
But yeah, not into Jews, not generally into like race mixing, all that stuff. But they sound very similar, right? And that's sort of what I was getting at with you, where like, and we've talked about this before, where a lot of left-leaning people conflate Charlie Kirk and Nick Fuentes, is because about 80, I would say 80% of the time they sound very similar. It's hard to sort of delineate where the differences are, right? Especially where, in my opinion, a lot of times I'll be charitable and say, because the left has overreacted sometimes and called people Nazis or, fascist or whatever you want to say the word is that the left shouldn't be using in referring to Republicans. And because they've been overzealous with that, the right weirdly has like tried to reclaim the words and been like, we don't care if you call us Nazis, fuck you anyways, right? And they've just stopped denouncing everything. So because the right stopped denouncing things, and because they're using a lot of the same words, if I'm being charitable, it becomes very difficult to tell them apart sometimes.
I will say I've seen a lot of conservative people and I've seen a lot of people denounce Nick Fuentes. I've seen a lot of people, it's even been kind of denouncing Candace lately because of the conspiratorial issues. And because, in all honesty, if let me say this, if white Christian males or white conservatives under the age of 30 are left into the arms of a Nick Fuentes now because of what happened to Charlie Kirk, that whole generation is screwed. I do want to say that Nick Fuentes will lead you astray. He will lead you the wrong way, down the wrong path, give you a bunt. And I can't say that about Charlie, man. Charlie, being young as it was, hadn't had the whole world figured out yet, but he was trying to figure it out. And whereas this is the issue, this is part of the issue of what we deal with just in reality in general, is I have seen, because I've had friends that are liberal that would send me clips of Charlie Kirk being racist or whatever the case is, and I have seen literally the complete opposite version of him on my algorithm. And I think that what that does is it leads to vastly huge different groups of people to look at Charlie, specifically Charlie, and one side is hanging their hat on, hey, he deserved this, or hey, when you speak like this is the kind of, and here's the message, listen to what he's saying. And then the other side is looking at these beautiful monologues and these beautiful debates between him and kids with all the patience in the world. And we're looking like, why would you want somebody like that to die? And then you have two very, very opposing viewpoints. And I think in the disgusted nature that I have of Nick Fuentes, I think Nick Fuentes is trying to capitalize on that divide by bringing more together through his beliefs and what he sees through his lens. And it's a disgusting move.
That's what he does, though, is he capitalizes on that gray area where he has plausible deniability and he can say a bunch of crazy shit.
Yeah.
And say, I don't mean it like that. I care about black people. I think they'd be better off if we just gave them their own country and all the white people had our own country.
Absolutely.
That's the kind of stuff you would say, right?
Yeah. But to a 17 and 18-year-old that's looking to you and hearing these things, and then they relate to you about something else that you say, that is the most dangerous thing that you could be doing to 17, 18. You're going to cause people to get their asses beat. You're going to cause people to get in fights. Well, they're going to cause so many issues, man. It's not even.
The problem is they would say you saying that is evidence that there's a problem, and that's why we need to separate.
No, I disagree. It's because they're they have to protect their home. How would you feel if you were 13 out of 100 people and 30 of those 100 started to come at you and say, hey, we don't think you should be here. We think you should have your own country. I'm trying to say it nicely. You know what I'm saying? Your what is it? Your GPA or your what makes you smart?
IQ.
Your IQ is low. Like
Yeah.
you should probably be in a different place. You'll do better there. I'm gonna beat your ass, bro. Like I'm gonna and hide the Bible if God's watching. Word to Kendrick Lamar. Like that's absolutely nuts. And I think that
It is nuts.
I don't think Charlie would ever say something of the sort. He never has said anything of the sort. And I think that even down to like the racial thing, the racial tendencies that he has had conversations on, I think people have taken widely and insanely out of context. And he should.
I mean,
he shouldn't have said it.
You say like the stuff with the black pilot, right?
Well,
and
he was talking about a very specific person.
This was no.
Three people.
This is something some of the most prominent black women in the U.S. he chose to talk about first off, which is what Ketanji Brown Jackson, Michelle Obama, and some other one. But even just the black pilot example, which, granted, I'll admit I've not seen the full clips in context, but I've seen several clips of him making the same joke about getting on a plane, seeing a black woman pilot, and wondering if they're qualified or if they were hired because of DEI.
Let me explain the context. The context was he was having this conversation and having this debate, and the kid that he was having a conversation with was a black kid, and the black kid was like, woe is me, the world is against me. And he was like, dog, you're in college, you're doing good for yourself. If you have that type of victim mentality, you're never going to make it anywhere, I promise, which is true. And then that's when the kid went into the DEI. He's openly debated about DEI a million times, but this is important, he saw DEI as, I'm just going to hire you because of the color of your skin, and it doesn't matter what your qualifications are, right? So what he was saying in that situation is, if DEI continues, it will make people terrified if they get on a plane and see a black person, because they're going to wonder, is this person qualified to fly a plane? It got taken out of context, stripped down, and sent out as a clip to the left, and the left took it and ran with it. It is what it is. But if you just dug a little bit deeper, you would see that it was based off of what very well may happen with DEI, even if his idea about DEI was misconstrued, which I feel like you would probably say that it was.
I've just never seen, like when it comes to colleges, which was the affirmative action thing, right, where they would, and I don't even necessarily think they were just, accepting the people because they were a particular race. It was more so they were factoring it in, and if they had, well, I guess in the Asian, there was a lawsuit where a bunch of Asian people sued Harvard because the standards for like other races were lower, right? So that all got thrown out after that case. I think it was in 2023. So I don't even think that's a thing anymore. But I've not seen examples where, like, say Delta, for example, is just hiring black pilots just to pad the numbers. Like, I've not seen examples like that. But because this happened in colleges, it just gets extrapolated out and becomes like a meme.
I think he was just literally talking about the precedent of it in general. Like, if this is something that we're doing, and we're hiring people based off of the color of their skin instead of their qualifications, regardless of their qualifications, which, most liberals that I know say that's not what DEI is. Most conservatives that I know say that is what DEI is. I'm not very well informed on DEI, I'll be honest. But if it's anything like, strip it down to the bare minimum, man. If it's anything like we're hiring people based off of their ethnic background versus qualifications, when you start talking about flying planes and you start talking about, building structures, and when you start talking about people that have, like, they're doctors or like whatever the case may be, when you start going into all of that, if people are getting hired based off of their ethnic background instead of qualification, that is a dangerous thing, is it not?
I've just never, I would say that is a dangerous thing, but I've never seen evidence of that. Like, for all the DEI funding cuts and whatever Trump is doing, I've never seen the handbook for hiring for whatever for the post office or any other government organization that says you must hire 20% black people, find a way to meet your quota.
Where do you think people are? I'm not gonna debate you on that, but where do you think people are getting this information from the right? Do you? I mean, in all seriousness, like, because people really believe it.
I think it's just a bunch of people making up bullshit stories. I mean, I don't know. Like, there's this meme where there's a person who is sitting there with like a coloring book, and he draws a big monster, right? And he hangs up the monster, and he draws some flames, and he hangs up the flames, and then he sits in between the monster and the flames, and is cradling himself and crying, right? That's what I think it is. Is you're creating monsters in your closet to be outraged about. Because that's the thing, is if, like, I've yet to ever talk, and I have a lot of political conversations. You know this about me. Yeah. I've yet to have a conversation with somebody who can point, aside from the college example, to specific DEI programs that they have a problem with. Like, it's one thing, and maybe Delta had, like, young woman pilot scholarships where, maybe they found a young woman pilot, which this is a completely made up example. Where they found, young women pilots just because they felt like that'd be a good thing to have, because I know women are severely underrepresented in being pilots. I think it's like 10% of women or something crazy like that are pilots. So, I think that's dope if they want to do something like that. But I've just not seen any crazy examples where they're specifically only trying to hire a certain type of person or advantaging certain types of people for jobs like that.
So it's an acronym for diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's a framework aimed at creating workplaces and societies where individuals from all backgrounds feel valued, respected, and have equal opportunities to succeed. Diversity refers to the presence of a wide range of identities and perspectives. Equity focuses on fair treatment and access by addressing historical and systemic barriers. Where I can understand where some people would feel like, all right, if I don't even believe in systemic barriers, then how can I roll with this?
Well, a lot of what they're talking about with regard to systemic barriers too are like,
well, let me finish. And inclusion ensures that every person feels a sense of belonging and is empowered to contribute their unique ideas. It does not say anything about qualification. And I know that I'm just literally Googling this. So
Yeah, but
should you not be qualified? Like,
no, that's, oh my God.
Because to me, this looks like,
I need to see examples of the programs though, because I've heard of examples of DEI programs that I think people wouldn't have problems with, where we're talking about
like initial hires,
systemic barriers or whatever, like where they try to go out of their way to post job opportunities to neighborhoods that they normally haven't been able to before, because you don't want to just hire within certain areas
and that's
that
good.
Might have racial demographics.
No,
right?
I do think
you want to advertise your jobs everywhere, and if they make like a little special extra, effort to advertise in like disadvantaged area or historically disadvantaged areas for say post office jobs or something like that, that would be a DEI program that I think most people wouldn't have a problem with.
Well, let me tell you where I feel like it would be beneficial, right? Is like, all right, you grow up and you're poor and you don't have, like, let's say it, like, if you really don't have the money, you don't have the suit and tie, you don't have but you did grind it out. You went to school, you spent every spare nickel that you had on getting your lawyer, like your degree in law. All right, let's say that. And you go to the firm and you don't look the part, and the firm says, well, you're qualified, you went to school for this, you seem like you got a good head on your shoulders, you're not qualified to take this here? I don't know, but you're not you can't take this position because essentially you don't look the part. I can understand where this would come into play, and this could help people like that, right? It's like, great, but are we basing what DEI, by definition, it does not seem like it is based on qualifications, which I feel like is why people are taking it out of construct separate. If it's being taken out of construct.
It's separate, right? Like, you can have multiple programs, you can have multiple initiatives, you can have multiple things. Like, say the program, might just be to, put up different flags whenever it's a certain country's holiday who you have hired an employee from there, right? Say there's American flags on fucking 4th of July, and say you have a fucking Nigerian employee and you put up a flag for the fucking Nigerian employee, shit like that, just to make them feel appreciated. I don't know if that's a thing, but that's like broad things, and that has nothing to do with hiring. Like, you're assuming, I think, that because this is the narrative, that all DEI programs only have to do with hiring. That is not all DEI programs do.
But if that is one of them.
Yeah.
Right?
But that would be like an affirmative action program, which has already gotten thrown out by the Supreme Court, and I think is bad. Like, I don't think you should only hire people because of what color they are.
Right.
But I think that generally, if you want to have programs that make people feel appreciated and try to like hire from different areas than you normally would, just to give extra people opportunities, then I don't think that's a bad thing.
I don't either. And I will full circle this, and I will say that...
Yeah, how did we get here?
I will say that Nick Fuentes would hate the idea of you having an equal opportunity if you're a different color than him. Whereas I feel like Charlie would not... He encouraged people that may have been less fortunate to not allow that to be a stumbling block for them, and for them to see that through it all, you can make it through everything. You can live the American dream. And I appreciate Charlie for that. Whereas I look at Nick Fuentes and I feel like he hates black people and he wants them to fail.
I just think, and maybe this, I just think these days, Republican politicians have done, and it might be partially a fault of the left. I'll be extra charitable. It might be a fault of the left, like I said, but they just need to do a better job of differentiating themselves. I was just watching a Piers Morgan debate where Jack Posobiec, or however you say his name, just refused to be able to denounce all of the Nazi group chat leaks from the Young Republicans, and then it turned out some guy who was running for an elected Republican position had like a weird Nazi American flag on one of his staffers' walls that like he just kind of didn't know about, allegedly, and then there were more Nazi text leaks, and Jack Posobiec just could not denounce it. And that shit, it makes it hard. Even Piers Morgan, who I would say sort of leans a little bit towards Trump, if we're being real, even Piers Morgan was like, why can't you just announce both? Because of course Jack had to bring up, well, there's shot Charlie Kirk and blah blah blah. It's like, we can say both are bad at the same time. It's not that hard, buddy. So
why is that so hard for some people? I don't understand. Is it relationships? Is it
because they're just fucking losers, man? Like and I don't know, they see it as some vulnerability, I guess. I don't know. But it
it's
really
disgusting.
But even JD Vance couldn't. JD Vance had some bullshit to say about it. He's like, oh, they're young, whatever. Like, and they're like in their 30s, some of them.
I like JD Vance, man, but that's a garbage cop out, and I don't want to see JD Vance continue to do cop outs, man. I think that you're too good for that. I think, like he's going to hear this. I think that he is too good for that.
We know you're listening.
Yeah. I think he's too good for that. I think that he's too clever for that. He's too smart for that. I don't want to see JD Vance go down a road of cop outs.
I think it looks good though. It makes people feel good when they see it. They're like, "Yeah, fuck all you people who disagree."
Because they're selling. Yeah.
It makes people feel good.
I really don't like it, man. I don't like the idea of. It takes a certain level of salesmanship to become president and vice president of the United States of America, for sure. I don't like. I think morale should hang way over your salesmanship. Like, who are you, and why do you stand on what you stand on? And you have to be able to answer these questions.
23 and it change minutes. We need to lock this up.
Yeah. In conclusion, Charlie Kirk is nothing like Nick Fuentes, and Nick Fuentes is a whole lot of things that I can't say as a Christian.
I was going to say, yeah, we don't want to make that enemy this early on. We need some fans who can go into the trenches for us before we start fucking beefing with them.
Speaking of salesmanship, this guy's denouncing it and doing it at the same time. He wants the Nick fans. Come on.
We don't want the Nick fans. We just don't want the Nick enemies yet, bro. We don't need all those motherfuckers fucking do whatever crazy shit they're doing.
Anywho's, man. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate y'all. Please make sure to like and subscribe on your way out. If you like content like this, you're going to see a lot more of it here. Peace.
See y'all.